Welcome to our special feature where we celebrate the amazing journeys of two extraordinary sisters, Nishka and Kaanchi Utpat. Nishka, a second-year student at the George Washington University, is dedicated to making a difference in the medical field through her research and volunteer work. Kaanchi, a senior in high school, is a strong advocate for menstrual health and is the co-founder of the Utpat Foundation. Together, these sisters are not only chasing their dreams but also making a positive impact on global health through their foundation and digital platforms. Welcome to ITV Gold, both Nishka and Kaanchi. I can't wait to talk about your book, but in a second. First, talk about yourselves, your passion, and what drove you to healthcare and education, combining these two things?
Sure. So my name is Nishka Utpat. I'm 19 years old and I go to the George Washington University where I'm studying public health actually. So what drives me towards healthcare is really understanding that the need for helping people in underserved communities, and I think that education is really the key to doing so, because when people have education about their healthcare, they're able to manage it better and take care of themselves better.
Wonderful. How about you, Kaanchi?
No, same here. I totally echo what Nishka just said. I think that advocacy for education and in increasing the amount of healthcare that people in underserved communities have is so important, because healthcare is something that everyone requires and everyone should be able to get what they need.
You want to be a doctor too, but you want to serve the communities, which is not something like a girl of your age would really want to do. You would want to get into probably cardiology, neurology, like something like really fancy, big names, big money, but you want to just take a different path in medicine also. What drove you to that?
So actually, family and our mom, Nishka as well, and any family we have in India. So they've really helped me understand how fortunate that we are, that we're able to grow up the way we have with access to honestly everything that we could ever need and want. And the realization that a lot of people don't have that is what drives me, I would say.
Did you go to India? Like you go there pretty often.
And we do.
We go there every few years. The last time we went was a few years ago. It was before we started the foundation, and it was actually that trip that solidified our desire to start this foundation in the first place.
The Utpat Foundation.
Yes.
And what do you exactly do with that?
So we do many different things. Our main goal of the foundation is to, like you kind of mentioned before, but spread awareness through education about various different topics. We have a podcast, we have a website with blogs, we have a YouTube channel, and our main project is called the Amhi Muli project. So it stands for the Awareness of Menstrual Health Initiative, but it also translates to Us Girls in Marathi, which is our mother tongue. So we thought it was like a cute name for that. And through the project, we have basically been donating sanitary pads to 2 different schools in Mumbai in India, to every girl that attends those 2 schools. And we donate them on a designated day once every month and give them the month supply of sanitary pads.
Wow.
Yeah, we've chosen to focus on these 2 particular schools because, as Nishka said, they're in this inner city area of Mumbai in a slightly more underserved population with a lower socioeconomic status. So we really wanted to bring awareness and education and, of course, the tangible feminine hygiene products to those girls.
Did you actually visit these schools and talk to the girls or see their condition, if they looked or were hygienic enough? Did you have a conversation, a dialogue with them?
So we haven't actually been able to go in person to those schools, unfortunately. Actually, we wanted to, but COVID hit and then everything got crazy. So we've had some very generous on-the-ground volunteers who have donated their time and their efforts towards donating and distributing the products on our behalf. But we've hoped to connect with these girls through our YouTube channel, actually.
And do you get any response, any feedback from these girls? Is anyone writing to you, talking about their experiences or how grateful they are that you're doing this for them?
So, like I said before, basically one day a month, these girls come in and we distribute the pads, like our on-ground volunteers distribute the pads to them. And during those days, they're able to like give we've received pretty much positive feedback about like the distribution of pads. And they're able to also ask questions about, if they have any questions about what menstruation is, and we're able to educate them like during that time as well.
As far as what you said with feedback goes, so like Nishka said, it's all been positive. We've had the opportunity to almost take surveys, and not only have they said that they feel more comfortable and confident with managing their menstrual cycle alongside going to school, but also just their self-esteem in general has really been boosted, and the amount of school absences that they may have had before having access to these products has been significantly reduced.
Yeah.
Which is really what the goal is.
Yeah, because adding on to that, we realized that there was a correlation between like attendance and then like menstruation cycles, that many girls have to unfortunately miss school because they don't have access to like ways to manage their menstruation safely and in a hygienic manner in schools, because like sometimes the schools don't have like anywhere to dispose of the products, or like they might not even have separate bathrooms for boys and girls. So these girls might have to unfortunately miss school and then maybe drop some of their extracurricular activities, which just kind of puts them behind,
So talking about, like, you would say it's still kind of a taboo in a place like India, like versus if we are here, we can talk openly about it. But when the distribution is being done, like these girls would actually come and take it, or how does it work? And they're okay with it. All right.
I mean, we've so far seen that like pretty much everyone does take the pads.
Are they like in the original package, or do you because I have seen like first-hand experience. I was living in a place, I think I was in Hyderabad, and if I asked for a pack of pads, the shopkeeper, he would wrap it in a newspaper and give it to me. I'm like, what?
I've seen that, but the way we do it, they come in the packages, and along with what you were saying about how are they receiving it, so that's why our on-the-ground volunteers have been so important, because it's not just them being like handing off the products.
And they're shy.
Exactly.
It's
put it in the bag quickly.
Exactly. So to avoid that, we've had them actually sit with the girls and talk to them about
how to use it,
what we're trying to do, and what exactly they should know for their menstrual cycle if they haven't gotten it yet, or if they do have it and are trying to figure out how to navigate it.
Yeah, because even if they're not the ones using the pads, like they might have like an older female relative who might need it. Yeah.
How do you fund for these?
So at first, initially, with the nonprofit organization that we've had, we like to say charity starts at home. So we were paying for the project with our own money out of pocket. So from various jobs that we may have worked, from birthday money that we received from family. That's how it started. But it was mainly because we didn't want to go approaching organizations saying, asking for donations if we didn't have any concrete proof of progress. Now, since the foundation has taken off, and now since this project has taken off, we've seen such good feedback and such success with it that we've had the opportunity to reach out to different organizations and actually ask for donations that way.
Yeah, so there's this one nonprofit in particular called Jalosh, and they basically they raise money and then they donate to different charities that they deem as like noble causes. So we basically approached them, talked about this foundation, talked about our goals, and then they've been helping us like fund the project for the last like year.
We also want to give a big thank you to this organization in India
Yes.
stationed there. It's nonprofit as well. It's called Swadhar. And we tied up with them actually because what they were doing was kind of similar to what we were doing, or it worked complementary rather. So they provide these schoolgirls with school supplies, inclusive of pens, pencils, notebooks, clothes, anything they need on the daily.
Yeah.
So we thought, hey, this is great because we want to provide them with feminine hygiene products and specifically menstrual sanitary products. So we joined hands with them and we distributed the products that way because in both cases it's helping the girls stay prepared for school and helping the girls during the school year.
When did you start writing this book?
So the book has actually been a work in progress for the last maybe 2-ish years, but it's been a lot of back and forth, and we finally were able to publish it in May, this past May.
Okay. And what is it about? Menstruation, of course.
So it basically is very similar. We have a YouTube channel. It's called the Utpat Sisters, and on that channel we talk about various different topics, mainly our own personal experiences or just general information about menstruation. And of course we're not medical professionals, so but we can talk about, so that's why it's mainly our own personal experiences. So the book kind of just reiterates a lot of the same content from the videos. But the reason why we wrote a book is we realized that not everyone has access to the internet. It could be very expensive, so they might not be able to actually watch the videos.
Right, and we want to highlight the fact that a lot of people actually enjoy the feel and the touch and the smell of a book and extracting information from it that way as opposed to watching something virtually. But yeah, along the lines of what Nishka said, it's a lot of personal experience, but more than that, it's about advocating for, what is menstruation? Why is it important that every girl learns what it is? Why is it important that she learns about her own body? Why is it nothing to be ashamed of? Things along those lines.
Girls are so comfortable talking about this. You've written a book, you have a foundation. Let's start with your personal story. How comfortable you were, when you first started your period, or you spoke to your mother or your parents. And, how comforting was it from their end, talking about it, telling you it's okay, it's all right, you don't have to be scared. Or if you ever had an accident in school or in some public place.
So I think one thing to mention here that's very interesting is maybe I think it was about 4th or 5th grade, elementary school, there was one day where the school nurse actually took all the girls in the class aside and she educated us about what menstruation is, how should you be prepared for it. And we were about 9 to 10 years old. So that was my first introduction of what menstruation even is. I didn't even know what it was at that time.
Did you understand what she was saying?
I mean, kind of. I think it was good that she even mentioned it in the first place. She also gave this period pouch. It was a little pouch with a booklet explaining more in detail, and then it had pads and then tampons. And then of course when I went home that day I questioned my mother about this, and I feel the fact that we were taught this and introduced this topic from such a young age, 9 to 10 years old, that has really helped being more open and speaking about it even now.
Right, and for me, I think I was especially lucky because not only did I have my mom, but I had an older sister who had gone through it before. So I had the talk in school about it. I had my sister who was going through it, and then I had my mom. And honestly, I think our mom has been such a huge influence in that regard because she has been, from day one, so open-minded about the topic, and she has told us up front, it's completely natural, nothing to be ashamed of, and she has helped and supported us through our process. And luckily we've had great friends and great family, even our dad, to help guide us and support us through our menstrual cycles as well. Yeah.
So when you mentioned about the school nurse and she was distributing the pads to you, was it the class only for the girls or even the boys and girls, everybody was there?
So Initially, she had just like talked to the girls, maybe just to like, like introduce it. But then they actually did call all the boys back in and gave like a brief overview about like what the topic is. And then that was like in like maybe like the 4th grade, let's say. But as we progressed onwards, like we did take like mandatory like sex education and health classes like throughout like middle school and high school that both boys and girls have to take. So boys are educated essentially about this process as well.
So nobody's uncomfortable around period and
I would hope. I don't think so, no.
Yeah, I think in elementary school especially, it's a little difficult to grapple with the concept because especially if it's the first time a girl is hearing about this, and it can be a little uncomfortable for them as well, because especially when they call all the boys in and they talked about it with them as well, there is this feeling of like oh, now they're like exposing us to the guys. So I'm sure at first a lot of people felt that way, but as we've gone on and continued learning about what the process even means, why it's important, what happens when you age, I think everyone has just become a lot more mature with the topic, which is what's supposed to happen. And that's why it's so important that you don't just teach it one time and you leave it there.
Exactly.
You continue to be taught about it because there's always more to learn.
For sure.
what other topics can we find in this book?
You can go ahead.
Okay, so personal experience is just one actually minor part of it, but if you read further, we talk about a little bit about the science behind it, a little bit about what happens as you age and how this correlates to pregnancy and things of that nature. We talk further about isolation, which is, a very big thing. It's not done everywhere, but it's something that a lot of girls have to experience because they're deemed as unpure.
Yes.
And so they're isolated from either their community or their home. They're kept in one room and they can't go out. So that's just one of the topics that we wanted to discuss in terms of dispelling any stigmas regarding it. Overall, our YouTube channel and the book, we wanted to present the information in a relatable, simplistic manner because there's so much information floating around on the internet, which is great, of course, but there's also so much misinformation.
Exactly, because we realize that because the topic may not be so openly discussed amongst like certain cultures, certain like families, these girls might be getting their information from like, older female relatives, which is great, which is like, but it's also word of mouth, or they might be even finding it on like social media or like the internet. And the internet is great, but sometimes it's not always accurate. So yeah.
Beautiful. How do you see your foundation evolving in the future?
So currently we are focusing on like supplying like these sanitary pads. But we think that like it would be great if we could develop like a factory, let's say, where we can manufacture the pads locally, because right now we're getting our pads from like a local pharmacy near like the schools. But of course, like these pads are being like produced at like a higher like market value. So we think that maybe like in due time, it would be great if we could just have like maybe a small factory that produces the pads at like a lower cost, because if the pads are produced at a more lower cost, then more girls can be actually like reached.
Not only that, but we want to reach out to policymakers at a local, state level and talk about implementing such a policy where girls in schools, in universities, at work can be supplied with menstrual products as they need it. And what Nishka was saying about a mini factory being in place, it would be so great if in a number of communities they could set up disposal methods such as burning pits or incinerators. That way the girls don't need to worry about just procuring the products, but now they actually have a means to get rid of it without shame in a discreet manner.
Or even just like in schools, like having like in like bathrooms, like little like bins like for like specifically menstrual waste products, like that would also be great.
Talk about the volunteers who are distributing the pads to the girls, and what is the distribution process all like?
So we have extended family, as we stayed in India. So our aunts and our uncles have actually been really instrumental in this process. So them and their friends, anyone they know, have actually helped a lot with
And the Swadar, like
yes. So we wanted to circle back to Swadhar, they've also helped with the distribution process. So they're the ones who are doing all that.
Okay, very nice. Now let's talk about your very popular YouTube channel. What kind of content do you create and how do you decide on the topics you cover?
Sure. So, like we said before, it's a lot of our personal experiences, but it's also about like what menstruation is and spreading awareness about it. Because the whole point of the channel is to basically say that like half the world experiences this very natural process. So we should be able to openly talk about it, because not talking about it and not giving these girls like the means to manage their menstruation in a safe and hygienic manner is just doing a disservice to them.
So we talk about also just, again, hygienic methods of disposal and what, like almost the do's and don'ts of managing the process just to be safe. And we also talk about, because it's such a layered and nuanced topic, you never run out of ideas. If you want to talk about the scientific aspects of it, if you want to talk about the cultural aspects of it, or the psychological aspects of it, or the daily symptoms you might experience, there's really no running out of topics in that way.
Yeah.
What messages do you want to convey through your book?
I think definitely what I kind of said before about how don't be afraid to spread awareness and speak up about this topic. It's a very, like we've said before, like it's a very nuanced topic. It is a sensitive topic. We're not denying that. But definitely like we do need to speak more about it and include more people in the conversation, include men about this in this conversation. They should also be aware of this very natural biological
process. Did you interview any men when you were writing this book?
We actually haven't, yeah.
But we definitely want to now.
Yeah.
Because like
start with your dad.
Exactly. He's been so supportive throughout this entire process. And you know, even when we're on like our menstrual cycles, he never like says anything. Like he always is willing to like help us get whatever we need. Very supportive.
I think it's interesting to see how at the start of our journey with our foundation and our channel, it's interesting to see his evolution as a man also, because you know, at first maybe he wasn't so comfortable with it as well, but now by this point he's also helped us in advocating for it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. What are your future goals for the Utpat Foundation and your other projects? Are there any new initiatives or ideas you're excited about?
So currently we don't have, we really just want to focus on distributing these sanitary products to not just these 2 schools, but expanding maybe to other areas, because we know that
maybe going to the villages.
Yeah, exactly. That would be so great. And also us going there and speaking ourselves to these girls, because we haven't had the opportunity to do that yet, but we really, really want to.
Yeah, and then like Kaanchi mentioned before, maybe, you know, installing like a potential factory to like lower the costs of like making these products, and potentially looking into like ways for like the communities to like dispose of the products, like the incinerator and the burial pits.
And
he didn't have the resources or the means. He came from the village.
Yeah, and there's another part where they're trying to actually, they're trying to take it on a more commercial and stops and takes a step back and it says, actually, the reason that I wanted to do this in the first place was to benefit the people, my wife and the people in my own village. We really like that message,
Wonderful. Before we wrap up, would you like to say something to the girls who are about to get their menstruation, or they are having their periods recently started and they don't know what a long way, or you know, it could be very challenging. So something to comfort them or tell them.
So we wanted to say, of course, that this is a process that you have no reason to be ashamed of course. There's nothing dirty or unnatural about it. And we would really love for girls to continue advocating for themselves and for girls around them who may not be able to.
And we just say that we think that it's really important that every girl is educated about this process because it's happening to their own bodies and you should know what's happening to your own bodies. And we just think that it's really important that everyone is educated about it and, like Kaanchi said, like advocates for themselves, but also advocates for their peers around them too.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is the book which is available on
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, great. So it's been a pleasure speaking with Nishka and Kaanchi Utpat today. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing how their impactful journey continues to unfold. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
I mean, just wanted to mention that if anyone out there is interested in donating whatever amount, small, large, we are so open to it, and you can go to our website with our contact information. We would be so honored by any of your contributions.
Absolutely. We'll flash it on our interview there.
Yeah. We want to thank our parents, especially our mom, for helping us out throughout the journey, and our relatives as well. Thank you.